Hey guys, welcome back to the Maverick channel. I'm your host Maverick, and today we are going to be watching another episode of Maou-sama, Retry. So, 4 episodes in, by now you guys should have an understanding of what this series is actually about, right? For those of you who watched the first episode and thought, hey, this seems kind of generic and whatnot in terms of the setting, in terms of the characters, well, it should dawn on you by now that this is not a story about going on an adventure or, gathering party members and then fighting together to beat some epic boss or whatnot. No, maybe that comes later on, right? I'm not saying it doesn't, but at least in terms of the pacing that they're going through right now, you're probably not going to see any of that, at least for the foreseeable future. This is really more because, I mean, come on, he's the Mao, right? Or purportedly the Mao. He's not actually a Mao. It's kind of complicated, but anyways, his powers is OP, right? He doesn't need to do this kind of adventure. There's no big, big conspiracy or big plot that he needs to solve. If there is one, it's going to be done by him himself, right? I expect in this episode we'll probably get to see more new characters as well, and then you can really get to see the actual unique backstory that it has that sets it apart from the other isekais. And when I say unique, I'm not saying that it's never been done before, right? There's so many isekais out there, then there's bound to be some that are duplicate of each other. But what I'm saying is that, at least for me, it does provide a sort of quite interesting backstory, if you will, in terms of its setting. But then again, as I said, even though there is this kind of underlying main plot beneath it, really, I'm just watching this series for the comedy and for the character interactions, where you can get a lot of these really contrasting characters. Even if they are somewhat predictable, well, I'll leave you guys to be the judge of that. So let's just get into the episode right now. Alrighty, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, this should be fun. Of course, story, comedy, and whatnot, notwithstanding, the animation is still shit. Like, I'm not even going to make an excuse for it. Again, it probably doesn't really make sense since they didn't really go through much of the interactions. But I'm sounding like a broken record at this point. Let me just skip that and let's get into the actual story. This, I don't know whether I'm having a bias for this anime or not, but the opening is getting more and more catchy every time I listen to it. Hey, it's these two. Super Trap. Like I said, the most seductive character in this series. Yeah, skip the exposition. And absolutely outrageous sword. But she is the great sword user, to be fair. This dude. And of course, the Mao's gonna show up and save them all. He's taking none of her shit. Yep, this is the part where they encounter each other. He just sees a bunch of XP points. Well, that was a case of redundant XP points. A bunch of XP. Okay. This animation. I really wonder what would happen if, you know, this series actually got a proper animation budget and whatnot. Then again, that would probably still be a waste, because like I said, it's not really the focus of this series. Don't worry, guys. We'll be seeing more of them. Hey, don't smoke in the presence of ladies. Schoolgirl uniform.
や、正直よく似合う。
当然でしょ。私ほどの淑女になると何でも似合うんだから。
とてもではないが、難聴系主人。
Oh, are we getting to? Yeah, cut back on the smoking, dude.
お茶目な人なんです、魔王様は。気をつけなさい。あのだらしない顔を見るにきっといやらしいことを思いついたわね。お尻ですか？
二人とも、私はしばらく試作にふける。念のため拠点に入ってろ。
何よ拠点って。
This space. You know, they should probably. I wish they would have gone like full Doraemon. Like, I don't know how many of you guys actually know of this popular series in Japan, Doraemon, but they should have just went full Doraemon and they can pull it out, and then with all the sound effects and whatnot. I mean, it's already quite. Like I said, the animation is already quite shitty. They might as well go full out. I do believe. Yep, here we go. Another character. And here we go with the, like I said, the mixing of the different worlds. Yukikaze! And you can see this is definitely from another system, just by, you know, the way that she is dressed.
強制。この光景、私たち
Yep.
話が早くて
And this is not the original world that, you know, our MC is from.
リアジョン
不夜城大帝国の科学力の推移を消し
This is from another game.
インフィニティゲーム最終エリアだがこのファンタジー世界に近代的な大要塞までを建ててしまえば完全に魔王城って言われるしな
上官、これは転移ではない。
転移であると私も感じている
やはりそうでしたか。私たちがこの地でなすべきことが見えてきましたね。
そこにたどり着くのはまだ早い便利の道も一歩からというではない
さすがは長官、このような事態でも楽しんでおられるのです。
何事も楽しむべきだとそう考えている
では長官、最初の一歩はいかがいたしましょう。
まずは拠点を進化させ野戦病院を作る予定だ
長官はいつも私の願いを叶えてくださるのですね。
当然のことだ可愛い部下の願いは私の願いでもある
恐れ入ります。
病院についてだが殺すことは厳禁だ我々はまず知らなければならない
ええ、知らなければ何も始まりません。知ることが最重要です。
では私の知る限りの情報を伝えておこうユウは間違いなく俺より賢い設定上天才医師でしかもマッドなサディスト俺にはちんぷんかんぷんだ絶対にボロを出さないようにしないと
You're suspicious.
私の側近を召喚した仲良くな
僕、アクって言います。成功国の男性女、男女、ルナよ。ま、覚えておいてね。
よろしく、アクちゃん、ルナ聖女。
早速だが悪の足を見てくれ
じゃあアクちゃん、力を抜いて。
はい。
いい子ね。
その手は。
大丈夫よ、アクちゃん。先っちょだけ、先っちょだけだから。
なんか息が荒くて怖いです。
アクちゃん、治療が終わったらしてみない？
遊んでる暇はない
これは失礼しました。ちょっとチクリとする。アクちゃん。
ちょっと魔王、本当に大丈夫なの？
心配するな私とその部下を
あんたを信じたことなんて一度もないから。
Don't worry, we'll see more and more people as well.
あ、これでおし。傷跡もきれいにしたわ。女の子のもの。
終わったかアクやるか
はい。
Yay!
痛くない。歩けます。僕の足が。魔王様。歩き方変じゃないですか？
ああ普通に歩けている
ユウ様、ありがとうございます。
いいのよ。お礼なら長官に。
少し歩く練習をさせた方がいいか少し出る中にいてくれ
かしこまりました、長官。
あまりはしゃぎすぎるなよ
Seriously, this is more like a father and a daughter, alright? So.
僕走れます。
言っただろ大帝国に不可能はないと
本当に夢みたいです。普通に歩けるようになるなんて。
夢 通に歩いて普通に生活できるように。
ほっぺをつねってくれませんか？
また古典的な。まああれだ。よかったじゃないか。
魔王様、もう少し歩いてもいいですか？魔王様におんぶしてもらえなくなっちゃいます。
Like, come on, does this not look like a father and daughter?
ずっと一緒にいてくださいね。
こういうセリフは将来好きになる男のためにと。
僕はもう見ていますから。戻りました。あったの？変態魔王に生かされたかった？
お前、ある意味安心す。見事な処置。
何これは。体が、心が、細胞が、髪の毛の一本に至るまで歓喜に打ち振る。全知全能の創造主から自分の存在を認める。
Because he did create her.
圧倒的な幸福感が。
これからも私を補佐してくれ。頼りにしているぞ。
なぜ褒められることが、頼りにされることがこれほどに嬉しいのか。今までの私とは何か違う。そして召喚もこれまでとは違う。
Because he's not actually the chief.
召喚のことを。
Survival school heroine. So anyways, with the addition of that character, this ending should be a bit more understandable now. So like I said, it's not really just an artistic decision, it's actually something that does exist within this universe. But anyways, I'll see you guys after the ending. Okay, so this is the beginning of the actual merging of the different worlds and the opening of the story, if you will. So by now, to quickly give a recap in case any of you have not caught on yet. So in essence, there are actually a total of 3 different worlds that we're talking about here. There is the original world, our world, which the main character comes from. By the way, I don't... Oh, actually, yeah, never mind. We do know his name, but it's literally irrelevant, to be honest. And then there's the world of the Infinity game, where Kunai and his 8 aides are from, and they're sort of like this mafia-like organization. They set up this thing called the Great Empire, and so basically they're their own thing, right? They are their own system. And then we have the current world, which the anime is based in, which is more rooted in fantasy, right? You got fantasy, armor, monsters, weapons, skills, and so on and so forth. So there's actually 3 distinct different worlds here, and so it's actually a double isekai, right? It's not just a case of somebody from our world and going into the game world, but it's actually taking the game world characters and then putting it into another world as well. So it definitely adds a different layer of things to it, and that's what I found so interesting about this, at least in terms of the main plot, when I first started to read this and really get into it, right? So yeah, so there's that part, and again, you can get bits and pieces of what the actual world of Infinity game was like based on the ending, and also based on the maybe based on the opening as well as through some flashbacks and through some of their dialogues, right? So including that was told by you, and you know, the scenes depicting what she was doing, like human experiments and whatnot, biological warfare, that kind of stuff, right? So yeah. And anyways, that's so in essence, you know, in regards to the Infinity game, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what that actually is as well. Because it's never clearly explained, at least up to what I've read so far, how exactly it works. Now, even though it is a game server of some sort, I don't believe that it's actually sort of like an MMORPG kind of situation, such as that in Overlord. I believe it's actually a private server that's only managed by one person, if you will. Well, okay, that actually doesn't really... Does that actually make sense? But in any case, up to now, there has still been no mention of other players within the Infinity game, other than that of the main character himself. So I feel like it seems more like, if you think about it, maybe like an AI and just having a life of its own, and then doing things of its own will, like sort of similar to that. But at the same time, the main character was the one who created all these different characters, including the 8 aides. He was the one who gave them these personalities, created these kinds of characters within them. So it's a really... That's why I've said that it's not really similar to Overlord at all either. This is purely a one-person job, and it's really more akin to a single player, you know, an offline single player story RPG or whatnot, than it is to an MMORPG. But anyways, so that's why in the ending scene, Yu was like, she was electrified and what is his feeling and whatnot, because he literally created her, right? Not the Demon Lord, not Kunai. Who's the boss, if you will. I believe she calls him Chief. He's referred to as Chief by the other members. But right now it's the spirit or soul of the main character within Kunai, and the MC is the one who created all these different characters of the Infinity game world. So that's how this entire situation came to be. So yeah, and I also from here, I guess we again further get to know the personalities and all the quirks of these different characters, right? And so by now it should be fairly obvious that these are all a bit loose in their head some way. Like well-adjusted normal person is frankly the exception and not the norm in this world setting here. All the characters have their own, you know, interesting stuff about them. Like Yu is a Shotokan, and she's also quite sadistic and whatnot. You got Yukikaze, who, even though he's a trap, you know, like I said, he's the most seductive character within this this series as a whole, and you can bet your ass that he's going to try to seduce the Demon Lord as well. And then, of course, we've seen the other Holy Maidens before, and just, you know, we've seen 2 out of 3, right? And these 2, well, they're already quite the characters themselves, aren't they? Definitely not quite the notion of the Holy Maiden that I think most people were expecting. But yeah, anyways, if there is anything I want to further say on this episode, it's that I still feel like they're putting a little bit too much emphasis on Aku and her relation with the Mao and whatnot, because again, it really doesn't matter that much, at least in the early stages. And as far as I believe they're going to adapt to anyways, it's not that far into the future. So again, I would have liked if they talked a little bit more about Infinity Game, about you know, about the past or about the current world, or even had some more character interactions between the Mao and all the other characters as well. But I digress. And the animation, of course, as always, is awful. But like I said, I feel like it's really just more of a meme at this point. And, well, we should just take it as it is, right? So, again, big flashy action scenes was not the focus of the series at all. So take it as you will. So I feel like by this episode, you should probably have a good grasp on whether you want to continue to watch on this series or not. If you're expecting for this to get more serious, or for there to be more epic fight scenes or whatnot, no, it's really still mostly based on the comedy and the very interesting interaction between having characters from two different worlds collide with each other and build something special, right? It is, I'd say, even it focuses a little bit more on base building and whatnot, or maybe in commerce than it does in adventuring and fighting. So there is that. But anyways, at least for me, yeah, the animation is obviously very shitty, but I don't know, I still get a kick out of watching these characters alive and moving and, you know, talking to each other, right? So I probably will still watch on this as well, although it's definitely not something that I'm going to be putting a lot of my effort into making some sort of, you know, in-depth discussion or analysis and review, right? It's just something to laugh at, have some fun, and move on. So hopefully enough of you guys are interested in this series as well and want to continue to watch on. So if you do, I will see you guys next week at the same time. Until then, bye bye.